All right. Hey, founders are burning out trying to become marketers, operators, salespeople, and content creators all at once. Nathan Klug joins Gopher CO to explain how to stop being the one person brand and build an operational growth machine. Hey, Nathan, how are you? Welcome to the Gopher CO channel.
I'm absolutely fantastic. There's no other better place to be right now, and I appreciate taking the time. I'm really excited for this podcast.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, man, we're excited to have you. The challenge has been right. So for 4 or 5 years, I've met with so many different entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders, privately held companies, and the hat I wear is typically a commercial banker on my day to day. It's really interesting that I led out with that because I'll tell you, our Gopher Show community really enjoys kind of understanding the mindset of these operational things, right? And systems and processes, right? But marketing it too is, can be complex, right? And the ways that you spend your money and ROAS and all these types of other, acronyms that we'll put out there throughout this interview. But tell us a little bit about how things started for you at Lyft, right? Like, were you a corporate guy? Have you been an entrepreneurial family for a long time? What were some of the, inception side of things of the ideas that you've brought to market?
Yeah, absolutely. So my story it started. My parents actually owned two bakeries. So
Mm.
they've been the whole make the donuts thing was very real. My dad would get up at we'll go to the bakery at about 10 o'clock at night. He'd bake all the way through the night. And then as I grew up, then I worked there for over a decade. And in that relationship and that concept, it was the product that brought people into that world, but it was the relationship with, the clerk and the store owners and things like that that kept everyone coming back. And so
Mm.
that was one of my experiences from there. And then I went from there to, especially because of where I'm at now. I grew up in the Illinois area in Wheaton, Glen Ellen, but now I'm out in Michigan. And I actually joined Amway when I was like 18.
Mm.
So I did not make a dime in it. I actually lost a bunch of money, but I learned about leadership training and entrepreneurship. So I went from there to another company called Liberty International that's now bankrupt at this point, but that's where I grew to having over 1,000 distributors. We were doing a cell phone service where for 3 people, you get your cell phone bill for free. We were bringing on about 10,000 clients per week to it. But
Wow.
I won't go into the story on that side. We'll shorten it up a little bit to get to where I'm at here. I went from there to um, financial services, to Primerica, World Financial Group, to starting my own agency that we brought on 100 agents in the first 90 days. And then a few years later, we sold that brand off. And then that's when we went more into the marketing world. And that's where we started our marketing agency of helping other insurance agencies and other small businesses really with their operational marketing because there's so much in the world of marketing that you can do. There's so many different concepts and ideas to get to the end goal, and all of them work in some facet or the other, especially if you actually are consistent with them. But the problem that we saw is all that lead generation stuff and everything that was happening. No one really was focused on the internal side of the business, the boring stuff that makes all the other stuff work a lot more efficiently. And so that's really what our focus was is helping out and consulting on that operational concept and idea. And what CRM system do you use? How do you organize your data? What does it mean to have a brand voice and a brand playbook and actually build off of that? And that's really what our focus was. And that's where all that knowledge came from of experiencing that for ourselves. Because when we brought on those 100 agents in 90 days, like operationally, we were a gigantic mess. Like it
Mm.
was great money. I was having a great time, but I was the main salesperson and I was the main trainer. And building the operational platform on the back end was super important to understand how we can scale and grow. And I think that's where so many other businesses aren't focusing on that area because it's not exciting, it's not sexy, it's not what all the marketers talk about in the world and all the gurus and things like that for the most part. And it's not something that people focus on. So that's really where that experience came from of bakery, network marketing, running my own business. I've been an entrepreneur for the past 20 years in some facet. And that's where all that experience culminated in Lyft Growth Systems of building businesses and providing operational infrastructure that can help a business grow and use all the marketing tactics and strategies that they want to be more effective.
Interesting. They always say, right, sell the sizzle. So,
And not the steak.
not the steak, right? So, but it's interesting because truly a well-run business is operationally sound. It's systems and processes, it's SOPs, right? Like having it, categorized. And boy, if you could take the founder out of it, the day to day, now you have a real business because you have individuals and people and systems running your business instead of the individual, wearing all the hats. So I love that journey. And I will say I was an Amway guy. I was 17 years old, got introduced to Amway. Man, we used to do green sheets, call in your order, and
Oh
then
yeah.
write them down. We didn't have, I think it turned into quick something or other. I forgot what it was, but
Quick
having
start
lived
for a
in,
little bit.
yeah, yeah, Quick Start. There you go. Yeah. So I don't know if you knew Jerry Betterman by chance, but good friend of mine still. He's in his late 60s, early 70s. He was a big diamond and had 5,000 people in his organization. And
I was on Larry Winter's team.
okay,
Uh,
okay. I don't know if I knew him, but yeah, what an interesting story. And then, like you said, went into some other different aspects. I went into telecommunications as well, non network marketing, but it was
yep.
interesting to kind of hear your beginning story. So I love that process, right, of learning different industries, learning different ways. And maybe it wasn't, a straight line, hey, get your master's degree or PhD in something. It was Hard Knocks University, right? Like, and learning these business systems and processes. But look at you now. I mean, you now, are you guys strictly niched into that space?
No, we broaden out where we're now more of a service platform,
Okay,
where we product niche rather than industry niche. So
okay,
the main place that we work with, yeah, we still have a lot of independent insurance agencies that we do just because we know that space for a long time. But roofers, home services, professional services, CPAs, tax professionals, really our main focus are people that have been in the business for a couple years. They have data, they have contact information, they're doing nothing with usually. And we're teaching them how to organize their operational platform so that they don't have to go and always spend new money on advertising chasing strangers, where they can actually understand, oh, I have a lot of information. I've been in business for a little bit. How do I utilize that better so that I can actually get more business from the people that I've networked with, talked with, been clients with for a long time and things like that.
yeah. Well, there's gold just sitting there a lot of times. A lot of businesses are so focused on the new that you forget, right, that that client that you currently have is so much more valuable than you've actually lifted up the perceived value of, right? And you start looking for new when in reality you've got another two, three levels of depth and then outside, maybe spiderwebbed from that client that can introduce you to some warm contacts. So it's an interesting concept. So, having said that, the marketing side of things, did you then start to develop any mentors in marketing? Did you start to, look at any systems like funnels or these types of things? What was kind of the platform that engaged you as kind of your base of how you've gone into market?
Yep. So when we were first consulting, we were big HubSpot users. So we had some people in that space that, taught and mentored. And, I was always following people, the Tony Robbins, the Russell Brunsons of the world and things like that, that came from that talked about those spaces and building funnels and things of that nature. But it wasn't until we ran into, and everyone now is using the platform. I don't know if you're familiar with Go High Level or High Level.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So that simplified, especially for our marketplaces and small business, because HubSpot's a phenomenal platform. It's really thought out, but the price point for a lot of the business that we were working with didn't fit the businesses that we talked to on a regular basis. And so we had to hobble together things to get to a price point that made sense of using Constant Contact or MailChimp and HubSpot and other platforms to piece it together. And High Level fixed a lot of that problem for us. So we've been High Level users for about just under 4 years now. Of course, the system has changed radically and is constantly coming up with new aspects. But that's where, for me, mentorship and coaching, like I took a couple coaching programs. I was in a group called POD that taught, lead generation concepts and was surrounded by a lot of great people. I've gone to the high level conferences, and you accelerate your growth by talking to the right people and seeking those people out and asking the right questions. And typically, for any business owner, like if you're there to ask genuine questions and you really want to learn, most people are willing to teach. You just
Hmm.
got to be willing to ask the right questions. And I think a lot of people miss that where, especially now with AI, like, oh, I can get my answer with AI, or I can, watch a YouTube video, which you absolutely should do those things. But finding someone in person or having a one-on-one meeting and being able to ask questions, that's something that for me accelerated my growth tremendously because I mean, I was able to put together better thoughts and ideas and conversations, and then taking that experience and then applying it to other people. That's where the next win comes from. The whole, learn a thing, do a thing, teach a thing kind of concept.
Mm. You know, from a mentor aspect, I guess once you dialed into not only the HubSpot, then transitioning to go high level, um, were there paid mentorships that you got into or paid circles? Because I think a lot of people from this consulting world forget how the investment of that being in other circles is actually priceless. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's a few places. So I'm like right now, one is AI Mavericks. They're an AI consortium that has a few hundred members, and Austin Armstrong is part of that. Um, I was in a group called POD. I'm literally blanking on actually like we always call it POD, and I can't actually remember what it stood for to be honest right now. But that helped me from a transition standpoint as well. And then for me, my business partner, he's been, and although we're in business and we're 50-50 partners, he's been a mentor for me. He's been around, he's 10 years older than me. He's been doing a lot of the operational side for a long time. He's the one that actually we started the insurance agency with. And so that has kind of been my mentor in that space as well. He's both my business partner and my mentor in a lot of those occasions. And so Ken, like I said, we've been out in business for over 10 years, which is something to say, and especially in the business world. We've run multiple businesses together, and we're still doing the stuff together to this age. So that's made a huge difference in accelerating that growth and having someone to talk to. In I know like partnerships, they don't work out a lot of
Mhm.
times, but with even if it didn't end up working out, the knowledge and the information that I learned by being able to talk to someone and say, hey, this is not just me in business trying to figure this out. This is someone that I get to talk to on a daily basis that we get to do something together. That's helped tremendously.
Hmm. So you mentioned that you've gone through different industries, right?
Yep.
And you've kind of created kind of your own spot within the industry of marketing, but then to broadly speak to, the avatars that you're pursuing. Are you in that kind of small to medium-sized business, maybe up to 1 million? Are you more of an emerging middle market person where it's like 1 million and they've broken the threshold of 7 figures and now they're maybe 25 to 50 million? What's your avatar space?
Yep. So on that side, it's usually between 150,000 for like the small business, especially the independent insurance agencies and things like
Mm,
that. Like the average independent insurance agency makes only about 54,000.
mm,
And not agency, excuse me, the average independent
agent. Yeah.
insurance agent.
Yeah.
So our real passion is helping those types of businesses that are at that smaller scale be able to grow. And so it's really between like that 150,000 to 2 million is the top end. And usually we're dealing with places that have no more than, 10 to 15 employees.
Mm,
Because that's really where our sweet spot is. And once they get to scale, there's great places that do phenomenal things on the top end, but not a lot of places that have a price point that can fit into those types of marketplaces that make sense and would actually come alongside them and help them grow. And so that's really what our space is. And anybody that's above that, we can work with them. Like there's a couple people that we do, but we're really trying to stay out of that marketplace. Because like I said, there's much better services and platforms that adapt to those specific needs.
okay. So you identified an underserved area, all right? A lot of times, from financial advisors to any type of business, especially consultants. You try to probably go up market, right? But you forget that the little guys, then you could do volume and you could do consistency and they grow with you. There's a lot of really, I guess, built-in satisfaction, right? I mean, seeing $100,000 business go to 1 million is pretty
Oh,
cool, right? And it's
that,
so rewarding, right?
yes.
And seeing them, and again, you guys too. So from the initial part of you guys having the partnership and having multiple kind of stages, what was the transition into you guys becoming employers, right, and bringing in employees? Can you give us a little bit of that transitional period of when you knew to start bringing on talent for Lyft?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first off, the key indicator was revenue, of course. Which so we made benchmarks for us of when we wanted to start bringing on more employees, and we started off our journey of doing that with starting off with VAs. So, virtual
Mm,
assistants was the easiest and fastest route for us to be able to bring on the type of talent that we needed to fill in the gaps after that we had in our business that we either had gaps or that we didn't want to start doing. Like we needed to focus on the $100 an hour work, not the $10 an hour work.
hmm
And so we, for VAs, one of the things, just a couple quick recommendations for people on that side is one, I would highly recommend finding a service that actually already trains and manages the VAs rather than you trying to find one yourself at the very beginning. That's a whole different ballgame because you have to have your SOPs and your standard operating procedures, all that in order, and you have to be able to spend time to manage and direct them. Whereas if you work with an agency, it's going to cost a little bit more, but that agency will already have basic skills that they're already trained for. You can give them, hey, these are the type of things that we're looking for, and then they can go find that VA that fits that match a lot better. So that was where we first started. And then after that, the next transition then was really working on the sales force because the backend operation and the backend operation, bringing on new clients, all of those processes, the VA can handle that if you have that in order. If you spent time writing down, which one other side note trick that I would recommend everyone doing, if you don't have those SOPs in order, don't try to do it all in one sitting. Have an hour or two at least every single week blocked off that the only thing you're doing during that hour or two is you're working on your SOP. And once that hour is done, you set a timer and you're like, you know what? I'm going to stop. I'm going to go on to the next task because we get too bogged down and we're like, oh, I need to finish this. And then we half our day goes by and we get frustrated with it and we're like, we need to be focusing on other things. But if you have a time every week that you can start spending, I mean, 2 hours would be great, 2 hours every week to get to that and say, I'm only focusing on my SOPs at this time. You'll get there and you'll see progress. And, after a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it takes to get there, you'll be finished with all that. And then you have something that you can provide a document for very quickly for someone that comes on board that you're not then figuring it out and be like, okay, well, wait, I forgot about this thing or this part of the process. But so we're a small team. It's my business partner. We have two VAs on the team, and then we have two salespeople as well. And those salespeople are 1099. That's what their focus is bringing more business, and that's really where we built our business around that concept. But we had to have our SOPs in order, and then we had revenue goals and markers in which we said, okay, we're going to take a portion of this money so that we can bring on that person and then scale from there.
So you mentioned, not taking it from a willy-nilly standpoint and finding your own VA, but actually professionalizing it through a service. What's been the biggest, I guess, challenge? Has it been just kind of the price points or the salary points of for the VAs, or has it been more, how you could surround you and your partner with, two, three, four, five scaled out VA amounts? What do you think has been the biggest, determinant of growing that?
Yeah, biggest determination is having the SOPs in order because we've
Okay.
had we've done a couple VAs before and we didn't have our stuff together, and the amount of time and effort that we spent being able to give that VA enough tasks and information to be able to do the things in their daily basis rather than because A VA for the most part is not going to be like, oh, I know the business enough. I know what the next step is. I'm just going to go take care of it. You
Hmm.
have to teach them what that looks like at the beginning. And so we wasted tons of time, which is the more valuable asset that we have, and resources by bringing on a VA when we didn't have our stuff together. And so that's where we had paused twice and said, you know what, we need to spend that time. It may take us a couple months to get there, but we need to have those SOPs and orders, and we need to think about it within the framework of what would someone else do, and they may not do it perfect. That's the other thing that we had to let go is like I like doing the things because if I do it, then I know it's going to get done the way that I want to, kind of concept. But
Hmm.
you have to let some of that go and say, hey, they're going to make mistakes, and you need to be able to be there to be able to teach. Hey, no, let's not do it this way. Let's do it this way. But that would be the number one recommendation if you're thinking about bringing on anyone, whether it be a VA or an internal salesperson or anything, an operational partner, whatever it is, make sure that you spent the time up front to know what that person is going to do and define that and have it written down. Not something where like, okay, I have it in my brain and then I'm going to teach them because you're going to miss some stuff and you're going to waste a lot of time trying to train that person rather than spending the time up front to be able to figure that out.
In Go for Show community, I hope you caught what Nathan talked about there, right? Sometimes a business owner doing 100, 150, 200 starts to think about bringing on talent and they say to themselves, boy, I'm 100% exactly what my client needs. But what Nathan talked about was, hey, it's okay if you bring in someone that's at 85% of your competency or 90% or 100 or 80, percent in general, because that multiplication stand where you can kind of put your feet on the ground and say, hey, now I've got two or three people but besides me and I can grow and put in 100% of my effort, but the multiplier of 380% is just exponential. There is actually a quantifiable, seeing that grow from that point of view. And I think a lot of business owners, I think about my blinds guy all the time. I think I've said it quite a few times, and I hope Doug listens once in a while. But my blinds guy, it continues to be a solopreneur, right? And has about a $500,000 business and does really well. But I've always challenged him and said to him, hey, and he says to me, to grow, right? And he says, well, nobody does it like I do. I've brought in salespeople and they don't care as much as I do, and they don't do this as much as I do. And yeah, it's fine. I mean, you've stayed between a quarter million and $500,000 business, but I guess, and that's preferential, right? So I'm not always busting chops on that, but I think that's the limitation that some people have, and why 9% of American businesses ever get to $1 million in revenue. Because I think a lot of times you hold yourself back thinking, I'm the man, I'm the woman, I know everything, I do it the best, and nobody can do it like me. So, but
Absolutely.
you've got an incredible brand with Lyft, and I see you on LinkedIn, and you're always promoting great things and great thought concepts. What's been some of the best ways that you've attracted business, right? Sounds like through the journey that you've had, you made some great relationships. You've had this mentor slash operating partner. Have you guys gone to market just through, sheer referrals? Have you used some of the ways that you've connected with and, brought on clients through marketing? What's been the best operational marketing that you've done?
Yep. So for me, the best one that I've done, so I'm a big proponent of LinkedIn. I've got about 12,000 connections on LinkedIn. I've used LinkedIn for a very, very long time. And I'll credit Jason Osborne with this strategy. He was the one that taught me about this specific concept of using LinkedIn to generate leads. And we've now taken that component and we've now built an AI agent that does that initial part for me. But the strategy is very simple. All it is first off, you have to know what your ideal client profile is, and who they are, and how to use the keywords within LinkedIn to find those people. Once you find them, and ideally, you're going to need Sales Navigator for this because one of the things that you're looking for is once you find those keywords, you want to find people that have posted in the past 30 days. Um, that's going to be the next important component. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go find the post that they did in the last 30 days. You're going to like their post. You're going to comment on their post. and something valuable, not something that starts an engagement right there, or anything like that. You're not making a sale. You're posting a valuable piece of, oh, I actually read your content and I
Mm,
thought it was valuable, and you're helping them get more reach because you liked and commented on their post. Then after you've done that, then you send them a direct message. And excuse me, not a direct message, a connection request with a note that says, "Hey, John, I saw your post about ABC thing. I liked and commented on it. Hope you don't mind. Would love to connect." That right there, that message, because right now about you'll get out of 4 out of 10 people that you send a connection request to with no note or anything like that, they'll just automatically connect with you. But if you do that message, you're going to be close to about 77 to 8 people are going to connect with you because you liked, you commented, they've already seen those notifications, and then you
mhm,
sent them a direct message. So that's and then once they hit the connection request and they accept it, then you go and endorse them for their top 3 skills. So they get another notification about that. Then you send a 1 minute video. And if you don't know, on LinkedIn, you can go to on your phone, if you go to LinkedIn and you go to message, there's a plus button that you can hit that will actually allow you to do a video. It's like a Loom video or BombBomb or whatever that anyone uses, but it's LinkedIn's internal video source, which means that it'll actually show the video. It won't just show up a link. It'll show the video in like a 3 second clip of you at
mm,
the beginning, and you do their name so they know it's for them. You put it on a whiteboard or something like that, and you say, "Hey, John," and then you go into a very simple script of, "Hey, John, this is Nathan. I wanted to send this over just to show you that I'm not AI, I'm not a robot or anything like that. Whatever funny joke you want to say." And really appreciate the connection request. I saw that you've been with ABC Company, or say something about the profile that shows that you looked at their profile briefly for this amount of time. The reason I wanted to send the message over is because I specifically help people in your situation do, and then whatever the problem is that you solve. Wanted to see if you had any questions about that, or if it'd be worth connecting. Would love to have the conversation, just see if there's anything. And then it's a simple script like that. It's not that hard. And then you send that as a video, and it's make it super short. And you're just asking if they want to chat, have any questions about the problems that you solve. And that has given me a tremendous amount of business from that side. And now, like we have it where that's some that's connected to the CRM, so it stores all the information. And if people respond back to it, then we have a conversational agent that takes over the conversation and qualifies them. But that's the advanced piece. If you're looking for a
mm.
simple strategy, that LinkedIn strategy works really, really, really well. The biggest component is making sure that you understand your ideal client profile. And it takes, like, again, allocate about an hour a day to that strategy, walk through the whole process, do it, rinse and repeat, and you'll get business from that piece. Um,
It's interesting because the last 60 days or so, I've really, really honed in, from the hat that I wear as a commercial banker and talking about my messaging on LinkedIn. And obviously the podcast has grown and that's been fantastic. And it's brought a different complexity to what I do on my day to day. But really honing in on the message that I serve privately held companies, founder led, 1 to 100 million. That's my thing. That's who I vibe with. That's who I love strategizing with. I do whiteboard sessions with, right? Like peer groups and all that type of stuff in my newsletter and all that. And it's really interesting. I love that you said, that you have taken an approach of humanly putting yourself in the process, right? I think too many people on LinkedIn and all of us have probably gotten bombarded with somebody wants to connect and instantaneously that DM is all about what they do and what they want to sell you and what they want to do. It's like, hey, warm up the approach, brother, like, or sister, right?
yes.
Like, hey, give me some human sense of it. And ladies and gentlemen, if you just heard that process, right, take it to heart. What Nathan is doing is humanizing the approach to be able to, it's like a cold call, right? Like when you, those first 7 seconds and you connect with someone and can have a real conversation about maybe a pain point that is real in their industry, and you did a little bit of homework, all of a sudden it becomes something that is genuinely a real connection. Because, I've definitely subscribed to the fact that in the last 5, 10 years, I would rather have less connections that interact very well or that bring themselves to comment and like on my posts, because then I know that those people at least have some interactive value, right? And they're thinking about me. They see my post, they like or comment on it, they reshare, which is always an awesome thing too. And I always get proud of, man, I put something out there that someone was willing to reshare it with their network. Is a cool thing. I don't know if you ever heard of clip farming or clipping, I guess it's called nowadays.
Yep, I
That's
have.
that's a big deal too, and it's an interesting strategy of having these micro and bigger influencers on Insta and all the other places, putting a little short of something that you have put out there, and then there's a CPM to as well. So, but neat. So look, you've taken us through the journey of you went through network marketing, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a young person, I would suggest big time because I was in Amway. I was with WFG, a lot of great friends that are mega millionaires in WFG. Um, and none of them necessarily was totally my fit. But then what an incredible experience of being in those network marketing because it's just a different way of marketing, right? It's not a scam. It's not a, what do they call it? A Ponzi scheme, all that stuff.
Yep. Oh
You know,
gosh,
the, these are real
I've heard them all.
businesses. Yeah, real business. And Nathan learned from it. I've learned from it. And look, if you're younger, I think it's well worth it. And if you've never been entrepreneurial, I think network marketing is such a great hybrid way that if you have a corporate job and you're kind of thinking like, hey, should I buy a franchise? Should I do this? Should I do that? Network marketing could be a great way for you to kind of test your entrepreneurial skills, right? So I just wanted to give a plug without promoting any one of them. Just the industry
Yep.
side, I feel like gets a lot of negative when really it's just the people sometimes of making it negative, not the actual, way of doing business, right? Would you agree?
I would agree with that 100%. I'm not gonna get in my soapbox or go down the rabbit hole with some of those experiences and some of those concept ideas. I believe in network marketing. It does work. It's just a matter. I would, for anybody that gets involved with it, make sure that you're being relational with the people that you're actually talking to, and keep an open mind to outside sources, because that's one of the big qualms with that everyone has with network marketing is the idea that it can be feel like a cult because they try to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
you into that bubble. And so I would just keep an open mind. Don't be afraid to talk to other people. Understand the products and services that you have, but it's a phenomenal environment to be a part of. And if you're not in the right environment, find the right person that is. Because
Yeah.
as you mentioned, it's not about the platform itself. It's about the people that you're actually working with. And don't forget that you are the one that gets to choose that, not them. So there's plenty of great offices in every business network business that's out there. You just got to find the right fit for you.
Well, I'm glad we could do a PSA for the network marketing industry.
I'm sure that we could. I'm sure that we
Yeah,
could. Like
yeah,
I said,
no, that's
I'm gonna
awesome.
close that rabbit hole for right now, and
Yeah.
we'll leave it
Well,
alone. But
look,
it's interesting.
Nathan, you've talked about the VA side and keeping it lean and mean, right? And building within a industry or within a demographic of an avatar that you really enjoy working with, right? So, what are some things from a leadership standpoint that you've learned just internally with your, like you said, your mentor slash partner, or even mentors that you've had before? Any clues that you would share that from a self-reliance standpoint, like in my book, I talk about accountability in chapter 3. And ultimately in the mirror, the only person looking back at you is you, right? So, what's your thoughts on small to medium-sized business, accountability, and looking in the mirror for leadership standpoints to tell yourself?
Number one, that leadership and growing a business is more about mindset than actual operations. So that's the first thing that I would say is you have to spend time on yourself and reading books like John's, reading, watching videos, finding a mentor that makes sense. One of the places there's an organization called SCORE that I've used before. Like
Mm,
that's what got me out of from Primerica to World Financial Group of not just being buy term invest the difference, but actually saying, hey, there's actually other philosophies out there that make sense, and that helped me in my growth. I talked with 5 different people at SCORE that were financial advisors and insurance people to actually take time to ask questions. And that's an important component because I can give you all the knowledge in the world and all the next right steps. But if you're not thinking about them the right way and being able to get ready for that, then you're not going to do them. So that's the same thing we talked about with the VAs is you have to be willing to let go of a certain amount of control so that you can grow the way that you want to. And if you can't let that go, then that's a mindset thing. No one's going to take care of that for you. That's all 100% up to you. And that's what holds back a lot of people is that invisible wall. Um, Number two is then what after having that is I would say focus in understanding what operational marketing actually is and figure out the 2 to 3 things that you can focus internally on that will actually help you produce an ROI. So like one of them as an example is analyzing what CRM platform you're using. That's a huge, important decision that I mean, I can make some great recommendations, but you want to know the best CRM that you can use is the one that you actually use. Doesn't matter what
Mhm.
platform it is. I can make all these great suggestions, but if you're not using it, analyze what that looks like for yourself. If you're not using a CRM and you're using spreadsheets still, find a CRM that works. And the only plugin that I'll give is, like I said, I would highly recommend looking at High Level or Go High Level. Call it whichever one. That is a phenomenal platform. But I would definitely find someone you can work with that would help you set it up and give you some mentorship on that side. But operationally, so CRM, the second important piece on the operational side that I would look at is how you manage and store your data, your contact information. There's too many people. I'll give you an example. Like one of the agencies that worked with us when we first brought them on, they had 164 column headings and data fields that they were using.
Hmm.
It was super complex for them. They barely used any of that information and data. They had it stored, but there's no practical use for it afterwards. So that's one of the things that we went through and said, okay, I want you to go through each column field and tell me how are you going to use that information in the future? And if you don't have an answer for that, then get rid of the field. You can store the data, but don't take time adding more information to it until you answer that question, what am I going to use the data for? And if you have no answer for it, don't store that data for right now. When you do have an answer for it, there's a lot of easy ways that you can get access to it and update that information. But I would keep yourself lean and mean of for that piece. And if you're going to use it, like an easy one is like a birthday. Birthdays are very helpful. You should be sending birthday messages like the day before, the day of, or the day after their birthday, just to stay top of mind. But if you don't have that information or you haven't deemed that that's important, then you can't do that. For insurance agents, a policy anniversary, that's a great information to do, pretty easy to be able to gather from your carrier. But if you don't have a plan to use it, you say, well, I'm not really going to send out renewal notices or um, policy anniversary reminders or things like that, then guess what? That data is useless. Don't store it. Don't take
Mhm.
time to do that piece. Now, I would say it's pretty important. You should have it, but if you're not going to use it, don't spend time managing that piece of data. So that's the second thing I would look at is what CRM you're using and how you're managing data are 2 very important things to be able to understand. But I would say those, from a leadership standpoint, those are the big places that I'm really focused on. I suppose the third bonus one that I'll give is on the marketing side, is determining the 1 or 2 strategies that you're going to focus on right now and you're going to run for the next 3 to 6 months to actually see if they're going to work out. Marketing in general doesn't happen overnight. There's no magic bullet, there's no silver bullet. Anybody that says that is trying to sell you their marketing platform. Tons of strategies work. You need to determine the 1 or 2 that you're going to be like, you know what, we're going to run this. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be paid ads, could be Facebook ads, could be cold email, could be multi-channel, could be the LinkedIn strategy we talked about, could be asking for referrals, whatever that is. But find the 1 or 2 that you're actually going to run and that's feasible for you to do and run those for the next 3 to 6 months to its fullest capacity, like fully commit to actually making it work, not finding the reasons why it's not going to work, but actually making it work. And you'll see that strategy work to some effect. So that would be the the three things I would say from a leadership standpoint for any business right now, if they're thinking about what their next step is to look at those three aspects: is mindset, operational marketing, and then marketing, outbound marketing itself, and choosing your strategy.
And that last one, I kept on thinking about a guy I follow, PBD. He talks about
Oh
next
yeah, I love
innovative campaign, right? The next innovative campaign. And I've been hearing different types of marketing, right? Experiential marketing, operational marketing, whatever other type of marketing. And it's interesting to hear you, Nathan, talk about how Lyft really, lifts, and no pun intended, to bring value inside the operation of the actual company, because ultimately the challenging part is at times not having a direction or not sticking with something long enough to see if it'll really work through, right? And that's how you blow a lot of money, right?
yes.
Going from one agency to the next, and this expert and to that expert, but not giving it enough time to really fully transition the way that you're doing business. And even just the mindset of an SOP. I love that framework that you gave, like, hey, devote 1 or 2 hours a week, dedicated time, and build out your SOPs. Because once that's built, man, what a great gift that you've left behind for the business to grow exponentially, right? So, really, really awesome stuff. So, as we end the interview, Nathan, we usually go through CEO, right? So, client experience, engagement, and I'll kind of coach you on that one, and operational excellence, which is what you're all about, operational marketing. So, client experience, if you think about it from Lyft and your brand and everything you've been doing, what is the value proposition if you take it into a 60 or 90-second window and you want to deliver the most impactful message? What would be the client experience that you expect prospective clients to come in and do business with you guys?
Yes. So from that side, the elevator pitch concept is that we help small businesses solve the problem of going out and doing consistent outreach to their ideal client profile. That's the problem that we're solving. The way that we solve that problem is by building AI agents that will first off do research on their ideal client profile, do outreach to that ideal client profile, and then have conversations with that ideal client profile to turn them into booked appointments. So the experience that we're looking for everyone to have from that is that they are going to be consistently able to scale and grow because they have a system that is going out and finding those people, whether it be a cold prospect that they've never talked to before, or someone that they already have in their network, and individualizing and personalizing messages at scale. That's what AI allows us to do right now, rather than the cold email blasts or the advertising and stuff like that that's out there. This is individualized and personalization at scale using AI to be able to do that. And the experience that I want them to feel afterwards, the last piece of that is I want them to feel that they're confident in what their next step is going to look like, that they're excited that they actually have a solution to some of their lead generation problems and their operational problem, because it helps on both sides. And that's really what we're excited to provide from that. And it's cool to see that progression of people that have been burned by marketing. And not all places burn. I'm not saying like I'm not there's tons of great organizations in the marketing world,
Mm-hmm.
but that's really what our experience is and why we want to be able to provide that experience so that they work with us long term. We're not looking for the quick pops or anything like that. We want them to really build a system that makes sense.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, it's interesting you brought that up, right? I think a lot of people, you have to find the right fit for you, right? Sometimes it's just not a good fit personality wise. You're not thinking the same way, right? Maybe the discovery wasn't as in depth as it should have been. So then you're led astray for 3 to 4 or 5 months and you're not really, on the same page, looking to market yourself. So, but like you said earlier, I mean, marketing is a long-term thing. So thinking that you're going to fix something in 30 days is a fallacy, right?
I
Give
never want
yourself,
to be someone's marketing hero, is the
yeah.
way I put it.
No, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's the way to think about it. And ladies and gentlemen, Go for Show community, think about what Nathan just talked about, right? You find a Nathan Klug, you find a Lyft, and you find a way to do business with them for a period of time that allows you to solidify and recognize what will work, right? Because Nathan and his team will bring more power, more strength, more conviction based on some of the things that they've been able to do and help others. So I love that stuff. So middle one is E for engagement. And I've been asking CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs that have come onto the podcast, how does Nathan Klug like to engage? Meaning, are you a break bread guy? Like, do you like dinners? Do you like to go to sporting events? Are you a band guy? Like, hey man, let's go do a band. Are you a ruck guy? Like, just let's go ruck and up, down, and mountain and spend time together rucking, right? Like, what does Nathan Klug like to engage with? How do you like to be engaged with?
Networking meetings. So I'm a
Okay.
huge proponent of like I get excited about networking. I'm part of multiple networks right now. I'm part of the West Michigan Chamber of Commerce. I'm part of the Home Buyers Association out here in West Michigan. I'm part of a community called 52 Connections. I'm looking at the Rotary Club next and things like that. I get really excited about connections because I came from network marketing. That was the whole like that's been ingrained with me of like your
Yeah.
network is your net worth kind of concept. And being able to sift through those people of finding the right fits because not everyone's a good fit. You don't have to work with everyone. You can say no to people. But being able to have that conversation and find out more about them and find the value proposition that both of you can do, and I know it's an overused word, but find the collaboration that makes sense. That's really where for me, and meeting them in person is how you do that. Like I love the personal interactions. I love going to conferences and things like that. I'm really glad that COVID did knock all of that stuff out and it's coming back strong. And people are craving that
Yeah.
relational aspect of their business and to be able to talk to other business owners. We're doing a lunch and learn out here in Kalamazoo in June. I'm going to start my lunch and learn sequences again. We used to do them all the time. You know, having about 10 to 20 business owners in a room, being able to network and teaching a valuable concept that they can then use and implement right away. But anyways, the in-person stuff is for me is the optimal way that I would love to do business. I think it makes a huge difference in how we interact with each other.
Okay. Well, I love it. I mean, I think, every time I ask that question, there's always a little bit of a wrinkle that every human being has. And well, that's what makes us all special, right? Everybody's got their own way. I'm a break bread guy. Like if I can go to an event, like a Cubs game personally as a Cub fan and
Oh,
go to a great dinner, man, I just feel like that connection, I can ask better questions. I can be in a calmer setting, stuff like that. So I love that you shared the networking event too, because that is so cool too. Like the energy that some of us get from meeting new people. My one of my strengths and strength finder is woo. So I don't
yeah,
know if you know that assessment, but that's one of the things that so I relate to what you shared. The last one is operational excellence, and obviously operational marketing and what you do at Lyft and the brand that you've been able to build. What are anything like two or three tools? I know you've mentioned Go High Level. You
yep,
mentioned like that, and I know from what I know of Go High Level, there's plenty of tools within it, which I still
yeah.
don't know how they can only charge what they charge, but it's interesting. So, two or three things that have really helped you do what you do to be able to be operationally excellent.
I already mentioned high level. They have over 200 features, stuff like that. I won't go dive into that piece. It's something everyone can explore. But the second one that, and this is more recent, but has really changed how I do thing is, and I'll give you two tools on the side, but either typeless or whisper flow.
Hmm.
So those two, they operate the same way, just preference of which one you want to use. I personally use typeless. But what it is an application that can go on your browser, on the application that you have, and you click one button, and then you can speak into it. And it's AI, so it gets rid of your ums and ahs. And if you have to go back and you're like, oh no, I didn't mean to say that. I wanted to say this. It'll fix that in the writing. It's not just it doesn't just transcribe what you says. It actually understands what you say and it changes it around and gets rid of all the fluff words and things like that. And in the past month and a half, I have now transcribed over 101,000 words because I can
Hmm.
talk at 170 words per minute. I can type at about 60 to 70 words per minute. And based on that, I'm looking at the dashboard right now, I've saved 47 hours of typing. Um,
Wow.
and I now speak into every single thing that I do, and that's how I use Typelist. That's changed how I do business, how I talk. I do all my emails using that. I do all my instructions and my prompting using my voice now, all the above. And there's platforms that have, the voice button in there, but sometimes they're not as reliable and they just transcribe what you say. They don't actually have any, they don't take out some of the words and things like that. So I've loved that platform. That's been a huge help for me. And then the third one I'll give a plug for real quick is what I have the hat for, which is BrandPod. So just to kind of wrap up on this side, the way that we even started chatting is BrandPod helped me actually sent out the podcast request actually, and found your podcast, determined it was a good fit for what I'm doing, and so that's how I got on this podcast right here. And so that's why I know the owners, Raheen and Canal. They're phenomenal people, and they're all about their building a personal brand and using AI to be able to do that. And it's a phenomenal platform. I'd highly recommend it. So I'll give a shout out to that one, of course, as well.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, no, it's been a pleasure having you on. I know I get excited, right? This has been one of my secret sauces as a commercial banker when someone says, "Oh, I'm happy with the loan that I have," or, yeah, we're not looking for anything. I've got a great bank I work with. Um, Ironically, the last 5 years, this has been my way of kind of getting in the door sometimes and encouraging a CEO, a founder-led company doing 3 million, 5 million, 20 million, and saying, "Hey, would you like to be on a podcast?" And they're like, yeah, I'd like to be on it. So it's been a great way to network. What a great medium that we all have, gotten into, and more of us are building more brands within it, and doing the things to help us either intrapreneurially or entrepreneurially. A great service. So tell everybody how to get a hold of you, how to work with Lyft, and what you guys are doing in the marketplace, and what's the best way to interact.
Yeah, very easily. You can go to, I would highly recommend you go to aea.liftgrowthsystems.com. So Lift spelled Lift. On there, that's our core service that we're offering, which is the authentic engagement agent. And the best way to do it is you fill out your information. It'll run a demo on you. Our agent will do research on you, message you on your social medias, and then when you respond back, and it'll send an email and a text. And when we respond back, our conversational agent will take over, ask you good questions, find your pain points, and then book an appointment. And you can see how that works in real time for yourself, because I think that component right there is what will help tons of people be consistent. On that, you can find me on, just type in Nathan Klug. There's not many Nathan Klugs out there. But LinkedIn is the big place that I'm at. And that's another way that I love connecting with people. And so find me on LinkedIn. Um, excuse me, my LinkedIn profile, it's Nathan Klug Lift is my LinkedIn URL profile. But those are the two
And
ways
your
for me to.
webs
And of course, if you're ever out in West Michigan, and just look me up. Would love to have a coffee, or I don't drink coffee, so I always invite people to smoothies, which is, if people know
Yes,
about.
dude. I love smoothies, man. That's Jamba Juice has been something I've donated a ton of money to. So, uh, and then
Absolutely.
at home we do, man, mango, strawberry, blueberry, all types of smoothies. So yeah, I don't know why coffee's never done anything for me, but it is funny how people are like, I need a cup of coffee to get started. I'm like, I need a smoothie to get started. So, but awesome stuff, brother. Well, hey, really a pleasure. And Gopher Seal community, or if you're not a part of the Gopher Seal community, subscribe to the channel, like this, interview, and then also check out my book, The 4A Formula: Untangle Any Challenge and Think Like a CEO. Get, concepts and visionary things like Nathan Klug has shared with you today. And in that book, on our bonus chapters, I talk about many of my guests on this podcast and share their wisdom. It's not the big names, it's not the Mark Cubans of the world. It's the Nathan Klugs who are working with small to medium-sized businesses, who are affecting his community, who are involved in his community and making big changes, which is why we started the Gopher Seal brand. So thank you so much, Nathan, for being a part of the Gopher Seal channel.
I'm glad to be here, John. This is great, and thank you so much for the time.